in writing, and as well as people in government, as well as people in law. Yeats said, after he wrote a book called The Vision, "It has been my effort to hold in a single thought reality and justice." Very wonderful statement, because they are so fiercely at odds, quite honest. So, this next book's a little bit longer, and it's set again in the troubled times. It's based on a story well known in the Mid-Ulster area. The subject is the assassination on his own doorstep of a man I had known when we were youngsters and teenagers. He played the same football team as myself, minor football at that stage. And anyway, he was called down. He owned a grocery shop in County Antrim. He was called down by some figures he knew late at night and was shot. And that this story is set on Station Island in Lough Derg, but he appears as a kind of ghost. The whole sequence of poems set on this island. A pilgrim, somebody like myself, a writer, feeling that he hasn't really done enough in relation to all that has been suffered by other people, including the likes of this fellow. So it's slightly longer than usual. Probably lasts about 6 minutes, so brace yourself. Those of you doing Italian who have read Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy will recognize the form in which the ghost speaks, tells the story. But I speak, Pilgrim speaks first. I had come to the edge of the water, soothed by just looking, idling over it as if it were a clear barometer or a mirror. But his reflection did not appear. But I sensed a presence entering into my concentration, or not being concentrated, as he spoke my name. And though I was reluctant, I turned to meet his face. The shock was still in me, what I saw. His brow was blown open above the eye, and blood had dried on his neck and cheek. "Easy now," he said. "You've seen a man as raw." "I beg your pardon." "Easy now," he said. "It's only me. You've seen men as raw after a football match." What time it was when I first wakened up, I still don't know. But I heard this knocking, and it scared me, like the phone in the small hours. So I had the sense not to put on the light, but looked out from behind the curtain. I saw 2 customers on the doorstep, and an old Land Rover with the doors open, parked in the street, so I let the curtain drop. But they must have been waiting for it to move, and they shouted to come down into the shop. She started to cry then, and roll round the bed, lamenting to herself, not even asking who it was. "Is your head astray? Or what's come over you?" I roared, more to bring myself to my senses than out of real anger at her. For the knocking shook me, the way they kept it up, her whinging and half screeching made it worse. All the time they were shouting, "Shop! Shop!" So I pulled on a sports coat and went back to the window and called out, "What do you want? Be quiet in the racket, or I'll not come down at all. Is the child not well? Open up and see what you've got. Pills or a powder or something in a bottle," one of them said. I stepped back off the footpath so I could see his face in the street lamp, and when the other moved, I knew them both. But bad and all as the knocking was, the quiet hit me worse. She was quiet herself now, lying dead still, whispering to watch out. At the bedroom door, I switched on the light. "It's odd they didn't look for a chemist. Who are they anyway this hour of the night?" she asked me, with the eyes standing in her head. "I know them to see," I said. But something made me reach and squeeze her hand across the bed before I went downstairs into the aisle of the shop. I stood there, going weak in the legs, I remember the stale smell of cooked meat or something coming through as I went to open up. From then on, you know as much about it as I do. Did they say nothing? Nothing. What would they say? Were they in uniform? Not masked in any way. They were barefaced as they would be in the day. Shikes thinking they were the be-all and the end-all. Not that it was any consolation. They were caught, I told them, and got jailed. Big-limbed, decent, open-faced, he stood forgetful of everything now, except whatever was welling up in his spoiled head, beginning to smile. You've put on a bit of weight since you did your curtain of the big Austin car you got the loan of on a Saturday night. Through life and death, he had hardly aged. There always was an athlete's cleanliness shining off him, and except for the ravished forehead and the blood, he was still that same rangy midfielder in a blue jersey and starched pants, the one stylist on the team, the perfect, clean, unthinkable victim. Forgive the way I have lived indifferent. Forgive my timid, circumspect involvement, I surprised myself by saying. Forgive my eye, he said. All that's above my head. And then a stun of pain seemed to go through him, and he trembled like a heat wave and faded. Reality and justice. That story actually is based on an incident where policemen off duty did the shooting in their capacity as loyalist paramilitaries. But on the whole, when you read it, people take it to be the pro-original IRA coming to do an assassination, depending where you read it. I thought, in this case, that it would have been unjust, if you like, to make it evident that these were RUC men coming to the door. Because in a sense, there is propaganda at that point in the 80s. They are all, you're saying they're bad eggs and they infect the whole environment, and they're all killers. And for better or worse, I left it unnamed as a typical event. In the Poetics of Aristotle, he says that the historian tells you what Alcibiades did, but the poet, he says, tells you what someone might typically do, you know. So this is more what might be done typically than it is what Alcibiades did. It isn't j'accuse, it's what Tim McCool called the music of what happens. Dante was a dream vision, a medieval form